I'd like to introduce the next speaker, who is going to talk to ceramics and activism, Julie Bartholomew, who's well known to all of you as both an artist and educator in New South Wales, but works nationally and internationally. Thank you. No, I'll use this. Be slow. Better get my glasses on. Okay. It has been a challenge for artists engaging with activist content, such as environmental issues, because it can feel as though we are reaching audiences already concerned about living in an endangered world, rather than affecting new and diverse public. However, in this era of immense environmental change, perhaps audiences are changing and realising that the loss of biodiversity and climate change are problems that are not going to miraculously disappear. We are living in a threatened world, and just in the scope of this presentation, 10 minutes, we may possibly lose almost 2 species of wildlife from the earth. On the optimistic side, it seems that audiences are more willing to engage. For instance, the response to Fiona Hall's Wrong Way Time at this year's Biennale in Venice was extraordinary, as was the reaction to Ken Yonatani's Sweet Barrier Reef a few years earlier. However, if audiences are really going to listen and if audiences are really going to start to listen, then art must be more effective. It needs to do more than simply represent. It must activate audiences, enabling their awareness of being part of an endangered world. I believe that artists who work in clay are certainly contributing. In fact, the clay material is proving to be an effective and powerful material for engaging audiences' sensibilities and voicing activist content. During this presentation, I want to focus on the qualities of clay and the capacity of ceramics practice to activate audiences with a view towards environmental concerns. Firstly, the clay material is an open body and responds to its immediate environment, to touch, pressure, humidity, cold, and varying degrees of heat. When an audience experiences these temporal qualities of clay in a shared situation, a presence in real space and time is established, rather than transcending the real world, which is often what happens with painting, new media and other art forms, where materiality and processes can disappear from the viewer's consciousness. In addition, clay's transitional qualities can switch on all the senses. We navigate a visual media world where sight is a supersense. Within an art gallery context, we are culturally conditioned to look at images rather than smell, touch and listen. The physical and temporal presence of clay can stimulate a desire to touch a familiar and visceral material, to smell wet mud, to hear the crunching of bone-dry and low-fied clay. This experiential dialogue with the clay material, which activates as well as transits the senses, can create a strong connection and empathy with the viewer, drawing the audience towards content that can be often confronting and uncomfortable. Not working? Will I use this? Okay, thank you. Rebecca Hutchins' ephemeral body-sized paper forms, which she embeds with clay slip, have a cross-sensory impact. Audiences experience the desire to touch, the strong smell of raw clay, and a rustling sound as bodies negotiate the shared space. Charlie Schneider's site-specific work at Fowler's Gap in New South Wales explores invasive species in Australia and humans' patterning of the land. Through the use of a clay slip wallpaper stencilled onto a 40-metre long concrete dam, Charlie depicts the toxic invasive species species Datura inoxia, which is specific to the region. Over time, as the clay slip stencil is exposed to natural climatic changes and eventually decays in synchronisation with the surroundings and returns to the earth, this cyclic process has a potent sensory impact on audiences that experience Charlie's work. When the peeling of the clay stencil begins in the heat of summer, it is reminiscent of skin peeling from the body after a sunburn. It is difficult to resist the impulse to reach out and shed the clay from its concrete surface. Walter O'Connell's large-scale, well, there's Charlie's peeling stencils. Walter O'Connell's large-scale unfired green clay structures housed in plastic enclosures that ambiguously imply both protection and entrapment explore the nature-culture dichotomy. These works have a powerful sensory impact for audiences because the hot light and moisture causes the clay to sweat. It is as if these structures are breathing life. Ken Yonatani's Fumi Tiles from a few years back, a very powerful piece. At the opening, he encouraged the audience to walk over the tiles, and this created an incredible experience of sound and the crunching of these butterfly images. His concern was the disappearance of Australian butterflies. Secondly, another feature of clay that can activate and engage audiences with a view towards environmental concerns is its ability to hold within its materiality the conceptual, regardless of form, shape, glazes, or illustrative surfaces. Clay is loaded with associations because of its long social and cultural history, its immense material variations from liquid to metallic like hardness, and its extensive applications that shape the world around us. Clay is the ground we walk on and grow our crops in. Clay forms earthenware folk pottery and precious Sèvres and Meissen porcelains. It embodies mud brick houses, high-tech architectural and industrial structures within the urban environment. Multiple connotations embedded within the clay material enable ceramics practice to sidestep and even avoid didactic illustrations of subject matter and encourage layered, ambiguous outcomes. Multifaceted artwork can create a more complex and engaging experience for audiences and also pull them towards activist content. Kate McDowell and my work titled Rarely Seen, both these works engage with environmental issues. Kate's, let's see if I can go back. There we go. Kate's work is concerned with romantic ideal of union with the natural world, conflicting with our contemporary impact on the environment. My installation initiates a dialogue between science and critically endangered Australian flora. In both works, the use of white porcelain generates associations that play off the forms it depicts. The porcelain engenders notions of preciousness, fragility, lifelessness, contributing to multi-layered, ambiguous readings. Claire Toomey's work at the Denver Art Museum consists of piles of unprocessed red Colorado clay dust. It is a response to the architecture and initiates dialogue of space and light across the whole museum. However, because the clay's multiple associations, for instance, red clay dust can refer to earth, to nature, to history, to impermanence. This site-specific work initiates another dialogue between the natural world and the built environment. Significantly, the connotations associated with clay's very material enable ceramics practice to respond to both natural and urban environments in tangible and innovative ways, utilising the vast technical stages, processes, tools that bring clay to life, including raw clay, glazed materials, coloured pigments, translucent porcelain, combined with steel, silicon and lead lights. Katie Karen and Martha Russo's installation confuses a distinction between the natural and the man-made. This cacophony of cascading mass evokes an intermingling of biological cell-like membranes and industrial materials, and expresses a disturbing beauty and sense of wonder. The varied materiality of this work and its multi-layered associations brings an awareness and sensitivity to the balancing act that encompasses the relationship between the natural and the built environment. The third and final characteristic of clay that can activate and engage audiences with a view towards environmental concerns is its historic legacy as a functional everyday object. The vessel form familiarity enables contemporary ceramic practices to be accessible and to activate connectedness. Within the context of the vessel form and investigating the Australian botanical narrative and how that reflects attitudes to the environment, Kathy Franzi's recent PhD work embraces the essence of ecology, the connectedness of all things. Kathy connects maker to clay, to processes, to vessel form, to botanical imagery, to the real plant, to the site, to the other plants, to the environment, to the earth, and then back to the maker. To conclude, if an art is to be effectively activist, it needs to do more than simply represent. It needs to activate the audience, enabling their awareness of being part of an endangered world. Due to the rich and vast potential of the clay material, ceramics practice has the power to activate audiences in many ways and therefore make a significant contribution to environmentalism. I think I've finished before my 10 minutes. Whoa.